The wind is a complication of mysteries, but these Sentry Guard monuments might hold the key to unlocking nature's elusive gusts, and their story is as amazing as the dangerous winds they shadow. June 24th, 1975 is a typical lazy summer day in New York City. Baseball bats are cracking, taxis are honking, and vacationers are packing roads and airways with heavy bags and light minds.
We were going to Sicily, to Italy, to visit my grandparents. We boarded the plane in New Orleans and headed to New York. The weather was nice, beautiful sunny day.
Eastern Airlines Flight 66 takes off from New Orleans at 1:19 p.m. The plane reaches cruising altitude within minutes, and the flight crew slips into their normal routine. Passengers relax, their comfort a direct reflection of the clear day and turbulence-free ride. After what seems like only a short trip, EA-66 is cleared to land at JFK Airport in Jamaica, New York, around 4 p.m.
Kennedy weather VFR, sky partially obscured, estimated ceiling 4,000 broken.
Kennedy Airport, New York, on Long Island, a preferred location where thunderstorms form, and a relatively innocuous thunderstorm formed in the vicinity of the approach path. There were several aircraft that came in ahead and landed.
Eastern Flight 902, which had tried to land minutes earlier, claimed a pretty good shear had pushed them down to the right.
On approach to New York, it changed the weather. There was a thunderstorm. I just remember seeing lightning.
There was a significant wind shear that occurred on the approach. The flight crew did their best to take care of the maneuver, but they were unable to overcome the wind shear.
The accident aircraft continued on, flight crew believing that they could get through the storm, and unfortunately crashed short of the runway.
I remember kind of putting my hand out, you know, like when you're in a car and you're braking. I just remember being forward, like a nosedive. And then after that, I don't remember anything. It wasn't for a couple of days that I woke up. They had told me that we were in an accident and that my mother had died. My sister survived for a few days.
Flight 66 was carrying 124 passengers and crew members. 113 persons perished, victims of mystifying weather, possibly a wind shear.
Any change in wind is just called wind shear, but what was unique about the story was that there were some airplanes that went in right before the one that crashed, Eastern 66, who didn't have trouble. That was the amazing thing about it. How could one plane land and 1 minute later another plane crash?
A killer wind shear was thought to be too wide in diameter to affect only one plane. But there was no other way to explain the fatal crash. No tornadoes had been reported, and lightning was ruled out as a factor. Officials were hesitant to completely blame invisible weather, but they could see a pilot at the controls of a downed jetliner. The National Transportation Safety Board, responsible for investigating U.S. airline crashes, cited the flight crew's delayed recognition and correction as cause of the accident.
Basic cause of the accident was the flight crews continuing the approach into adverse weather from which they did not recover, and they crashed into the approach lights short of the runway.
Prior to that time, we hadn't lost a lot of airplanes to known wind shear. Generally, it was considered to be either an aircraft problem or a piloting problem as opposed to a meteorological event.
There always seems to be the jumping to the conclusion that it's pilot error. And of course, we are all comrades, and we do stay together. We know we've had this good training, and I would think that you'd find in most cases it's not pilot error.
Refusing to agree with the government's decision to blame the flight crew, one of those comrades decided to take action. Homer Mowden was a retired Braniff Airways captain, now with the Flight Safety Foundation. He tried to forget the mysterious wind reports surrounding the crash, but they would not disappear from his conscience. He took his concerns to the University of Chicago and world-renowned meteorologist Dr. Ted Fujita.
So he came to Fujita and said, Professor Fujita, I think the weather did this. And Fujita, he was about to leave town that day, but Moudon was persistent, and finally something clicked in Fujita's mind. He didn't travel that day. He got so excited about it.
Fujita was a very fun-loving guy. Talk about getting excited about weather. Any little thing about the weather, he'd just jump up and down with joy and have a great time.
Fujita was just absolutely an amazing man, and because he had the ability, like no other person ever in the meteorological world, of seeing things and how they all fit together in ways that no one could do.
Fujita